Betty's too tall.
What you have to do too is make sure that
Test. Okay.
Betty's blind.
Betty, that's
Ready?
for you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We just finished a meeting with the mayor regarding some issues that the San Antonio Making Bureaucracy Accountable Coalition has brought to the mayor's attention. With me today are people from all walks of life, different political affiliations, because this is a nonpartisan meeting with the mayor. We wanted to make sure that she was aware of all the issues that we feel she needs to address. And we had 4 critical issues today. Mainly they had to do with the San Antonio Housing Authority, the light rail issue that is now being raised again by VIA, the CPS, power grid, and smart meters, and finally the Charter Review Commission. Now all these 4 issues are very critical and they affect the quality of life for the citizens of San Antonio. So we're going to conduct this press conference the same way we conducted it with the mayor, in covering each of the 4 issues, and at the end we'll open it up for questions. First on the agenda is my colleague and mentor, Henry Rodriguez, the LULAC Man of the Year, who will be addressing the issue regarding the San Antonio Housing Authority. Henry?
Thank you very much. Certainly want to thank the press. Can't do it without you. We had a very good meeting with the mayor, and it's very promising. She's going to get back with us. My role was to talk about housing. The San Antonio Housing Authority, they do great work, but there's always a place where they can certainly improve with what they do and how they treat the people in housing. And LULAC, our Concilio Zapatista, one of the most active, dynamic, and well-respected LULAC councils anywhere in this country, we deal with issues, and we always have someone that is at the head of it. George is the Affordable Housing Director. And my main thing to tell the mayor was that George has been working diligently since 1996. And when I appointed him as the Director for Affordable Housing, when I became Director for LULAC District 15, I appointed him as Director of Affordable Housing, and I served my terms, and he still is the Director of Affordable Housing for the district, for our council. Let me see if I can, okay, yeah. So now where we're at is, we have a very serious problem with the San Antonio Housing Authority, where they are making George a criminal, if you will, a scapegoat of the process. They took away 17 of houses, HAP contracts, and without any real cause, no due process for George. As a matter of fact, that really affected his livelihood. Now George represents a lot of head of households where are single women, mostly. And they depend on George on a day-to-day basis on their problems. Like I was telling the mayor, when I was a union representative, yes, we represented people, but one of the things that we do before, we have to see if the problem has any merit. And what we do is we go on a fact-finding mission. And if the person deserves to be helped, we will. And that's George's role. And he does it more effectively than anybody that I've ever known. So it is very disheartening, and it is frustrating that they always hide behind bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is a very dangerous thing. There is no way in the world that we can stand by, and as you see all these people from all walks of life, they stand with George. You would never think that would happen. When we were fighting the streetcar, I told everybody there at the press conference, tomorrow we will disagree on one thing or another, but today we speak with one voice, and that's what we're doing here. We're speaking with one voice on the various issues that confront our city, and we were going to be very diligent about all this. I can tell you a world of things about what is going on with Saja. They have serious problems. But George here, during his tenure, there's been about 3 upper echelon officials that have either been fired or they had to resign because of George's good work. And some of them have been demoted. So, gentlemen, lady, we're here to tell you that we're going to take a very strong stand, and we are so proud that we can work with other people from other political persuasions, other groups, and that today we speak with one voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy, for those comments. The next speaker is Michael Dennis.
Yes.
Regarding the light rail issue that is raising its ugly head again. Mike? How many people here want to ride a 19th century technology to nowhere and spend about $68 million per mile to do it?
Not counting continuing maintenance. Bring back the horse.
We have voted on this twice in the last 2 decades. Overwhelmingly, by margins of 2-to-1 and 3-to-1, we've said no to light rail. And now we have planning documents that the city and VIA are planning to put before the city council in the coming weeks and months. And those documents say in 106 different locations, light rail, light rail, light rail, light rail. But as we all know, we voted a year ago to put an amendment on the city charter that says first the city has to vote and allow the people to express their views. Again, that we've already done in the year 2000 and again last year. Over 150,000 people voted in those elections, yet in the planning documents that the city is now receiving in draft form, there's mention of 5,000 people that were surveyed. 5,000 compared to 150,000, which would you find more persuasive? Plus the 5,000 that were handpicked by VIA and the city to give their views on light rail. Those were ones that could vote many times on an online computer-run survey, so that it's nothing to match the actual votes that we've taken in the last 2 decades. Is there anything more?
Said it all.
Said it all. Thank you.
Right.
Question. I have a question for him.
Mike.
Okay. If light rail is not an option, what would be an option to better the public transportation?
I'm glad you asked that.
Glad you asked that, because these planning documents that I'm alerting you to, that you should, if you have trouble getting to sleep, by the way, you should pick up one of these documents and look through it. They acknowledge that there's something on the horizon called automated vehicles, autonomous vehicles, or connected vehicles. And those have the prospects of being able to eliminate a lot of the driving around that we do. They can park themselves, they can come and pick you up, they can drop you off. And if you follow the experiment that was done at Stanford University in connection with the Google car development, they found that on a free-flowing freeway, for example, if you look at the space between cars, that's 92% of the space. Only 8% of space on a freeway that's packed with cars is actually used by cars. So what happens when we get these smart cars, these autonomous vehicles? We can dial up distances as close as a NASCAR race, and just by going from 92% down to 84%, that will double the car capacity of a freeway. So we have it. Technology in a few years is going to supply us instant freeway congestion relief.
What about New York City? I mean, they have a subway system. It moves millions of people really quick from point A to point B.
And if you like living in a closed space piled on top of one another like Manhattan, you'll love the vision that's in these planning documents, because what they say is, well, we have to have transit supportive land use. In other words, when somebody wants to build
in the city. They have to come and show that their zoning and regulations are being honored. What these planning documents propose is that we have required densification of our highway corridors. So we can't just live wherever we want. Having your own house with a yard and a garden and a picket fence, that's out. You can't have that. We want you to live downtown on top of each other so we can run a transit right by you like they have in New York, which is probably the only place in this country at least where it makes sense to have transit lines provide the bulk of the transportation.
So a subway system, or like not necessarily subway underground, but a system of like that above wouldn't make sense to transport people everywhere?
As I say, it makes sense if you want to recreate Manhattan. If you want the density that would be required to support that kind of a system, then it would work. But we're a car culture. We're built on a different basis. Our land values, we don't pay anywhere near what it costs to pay for real estate in Manhattan. There, if you're going to make it economically, you got to build way up to use that land to its maximum value. We are not going to be creating Manhattan in San Antonio.
So should we stay the same status as we are right now, and wait for the future of the autonomous cars? What would be the solution?
About a bus.
We wholly support the bus system in San Antonio, especially the BRT, the bus rapid transit. Those are good initiatives. But putting down rails at the cost of $68 million per mile makes no economic sense. That's never going to pay for itself. And then you're stuck with whatever vision we have now of where people are coming from, going to. If you read those planning documents further, if you can stay awake, it says that the planners, anyway, are abandoning the idea of a downtown destination where everybody comes from far away downtown and goes back to where they may have housing. It recognizes that there are 13 separate activity centers all around the city. The medical center is one example, and they'll now design corridors for transit between those.
Okay, we have two more speakers, so if you have any questions, please hold them until the end. Nikki,
Let's go ahead and hold all the questions after the conference is over. We can bring up the speakers and you can address the questions with them. The next speaker is Nikki Coons to address the Charter Revision Commission. Nikki?
Hey, Nikki! Hey, Nikki, go tell them.
Yes, my name is Nikki Coons, and my concern today, as we talked about bureaucracies in the city, was not only that they, in many cases, are not accountable, but they are agenda-driven. Case in point was the Charter Review Commission. It was clear that when this commission was started, that it was started so that they could put council pay on the ballot. The meeting that I went to, a council person dominated the discussion about council pay and how much it should be, insisting that it was a full-time job. So the mayor does have the power, the sole power, to place people on the Charter Review Commission. Now, the Charter Review Commission currently has 4 vacancies. I believe the mayor was listening and is going to consider this. We ask that she consider some of the grassroots efforts that the people here represent, and that would be LULAC, first and foremost, the Homeowner Taxpayer Association, the SA Toll Party, and the SAT Party. We did ask for another meeting, so we'll hopefully be able to report some good news to you. But the people here, many of them submitted revisions for the charter, and none of them were discussed. As a matter of fact, in 2015, the Charter Review Commission ended early, and we find this not acceptable. So I believe the mayor was listening to us today, and hopefully we'll have something good to report at our next meeting. Thank you.
We're going to allow Ms. Susan Strauss to come up and point out some complaints that she's collected from the citizens of San Antonio that have been affected by the smart meters. And after that, we'll bring up Mr. Stan Mitchell. Susan?
Thank you, George.
Right, Susan?
I'm Susan from Alamo Heights Neighborhood Association. We stand with LULAC against smart meter opt-out fees and skyrocketing utility bills. We advised Mayor Taylor of our concerns about CPS Energy, and since she's a board member, we expect she will take action. I've collected complaints by many people whose bills have skyrocketed after smart meter installation. Bills doubling and tripling. Customers are even put on payment plans. A $467 bill for an empty house. A $560 bill for someone who was gone all month. There have been class action lawsuits about overbilling nationwide. No one should have to choose between food and cooling their house. People ask why they have to opt out of a program they never opted into to begin with. Those who want to could read their own meters, like New Mexico utility customers do. We could have an opt-in program, like Oregon has. Memphis, Tennessee, a large municipal utility like ours, voted for a no-cost opt-out. Several states also have a no-cost opt-out. People should not have to pay $20 a month forever to opt out of a smart meter. The fee was set by a few people on the unelected board of CPS Energy. And the fee was never voted on by City Council. In 2014, CPS is on record stating to City Council they did not believe many people would choose to opt out due to the cost. It's clear the fee was intended to be so high that nobody would opt out. More evidence of CPS Energy tyranny. Meter reading has always been built into the monthly service. We call on Mayor Taylor to eliminate the opt-out fee. People are surprised to learn that there are no state or federal laws requiring a smart meter or any digital meter. Dallas and Houston utilities charge very high opt-out fees like we do. They claim they cannot afford to offer a no-cost opt-out while paying multi-million-dollar bonuses to their CEOs. 51 executives made $82 million in bonuses. Other complaints. The opt-out form does not match the online information. Analog meter is listed as a meter choice when people opt out online, but not on the actual form. We feel this is deceptive and confusing for customers. CPS refuses to change the form to match the online information. We've asked them to change it. They refuse. People have to write in on the form, and they have to know that they have to write in the form that they want an analog meter. Otherwise, they have no idea they can even get an analog meter. People are told routinely by CPS, except in certain neighborhoods, that they cannot have an analog meter and that they must accept a digital opt-out meter. But Austin Energy and Pedernales Electric offer opt-out customers analog meters, so surely we know CPS can do it also. Another complaint, final complaint, is that smart meter installers don't always carry a list. In fact, they routinely don't carry lists of people that have opted out. And then when that happens, mistakes are made, and people have to pay $175 just to have the smart meter removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. The old saying that we're saving the best for last applies here, because the four issues that we've discussed, the critical issue has to do with CPS Energy and the smart meters. And we have an excellent gentleman who has been working on this diligently, who met with the mayor today and actually told the mayor that we need to have somebody other than Mr. Gorzel, the city financial guru, make the mayor and the council aware of what his findings are, because Stan is an independent financial advisor, and he has suggested to the mayor that she appoint somebody from her staff to meet with Mr. Stan Mitchell and the UTSA financial executive or director from UTSA that's familiar with finances, and that way we can get the true story that, in our opinion, Mayor Taylor's not hearing. So with that in mind, let me introduce at this time Mr. Stan Mitchell.
All right, thanks.
I'm Stan Mitchell, the numbers guy for the streetcar project. We don't have a streetcar project, do we?
No way.
Naturally, I gravitated to the financial aspects of the smart grid proposal. And I'm not going to tell you all those details. I'm going to show you them in a handout that we just left with the mayor. It describes the range of assessments of the 20-year cash flow associated with the smart grid project. That was identified early by CPS staff in meetings that were attended by George and me and another member of our group. And we got from them an assessment that that project would develop a positive cash flow of $143 million over 20 years. 145 million. Went to work and developed this backup that said, no, when you replace the omitted items, the cost is really 285 million negative over 20 years. But as information has been released, we've identified additional sources of cost that has brought that negative cash flow over 20 years to $1.2 billion. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have any trouble identifying a significant difference between 145 million positive and $1.2 billion negative. And CPS now says we need a battery plant. They have decided at CPS that in Texas, the sun goes down at night. I challenge you to stay up late enough to recognize this phenomenon. The justification is that we have all this sun in the daytime, and at night the power from solar disappears. So we're going to put a significant portion of that in a battery plant, and that will even out the flow over the 24-hour cycle. The problem is they don't know how much it's going to cost. I have an open records request for that information now, but they've already objected and gone to the Attorney General and said, we can't release that. That's competitive information. I'm not going to tell you about the financial aspects of it. I'm going to show it to you. Let me know, and I'll make sure you have the handout we left with the mayor. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, George.
All right, that concludes our press conference this afternoon. At this time, we'll open it up for any questions that you may have. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Zaragoza. I am San Antonio Housing's resident representative from the Mirasol Homes. For the last 15 years, we've been living in a house that's contaminated with insulation and mold and all kind of stuff, and the city and Saha and even Metro Health doesn't care about the health of these people. Now, last year they knocked down 39 houses, brand new houses. They knocked them down. What's the reason? They said they're structurally unsafe, so they had to contaminate them. Now, total, they built 250 houses, or 247. They have another 41 that were also boarded up, and from what I hear now, are going up for sale. And from what I'm hearing, it's going to be like an auction. So I paid $70,000 for my house, and somebody's going to get this house for, who knows, pennies on the dollar. But what's even worse is, why are they selling these houses? If these houses have been condemned by the city and have been knocked down by the city, Why are they selling them? And most importantly, you have 250 houses that were all built under the same scenario, sold to the people, the public. They all need to be knocked down. That's the bottom line. I told Dr. Fernando Guerra that these houses all need to be knocked down. That's the inevitable solution, and that's what I'm here for. For the children, for the kids of the neighborhood. There are people that are getting sick, and nobody cares. But they say they can sell these houses. This is what hurts me the most. How can you sell a house that's been contaminated? I don't understand that. Thank you. Thank you.
Randy, thank you for coming. As we've said before, we raised Saha issues, and
That is one of them.
that is one of them. And now that we know that the San Antonio Housing Authority has plans to auction off these houses, LULAC is going to be involved in this because of two reasons. We don't want any contaminated houses to be sold to other people. Number two, these people need to be made whole. That's one of the reasons we came to Mayor Taylor today. Said we need somebody on that commission, on that board, that needs to look at what's going on at Saha. At this point, we'll go ahead and entertain any of the questions.
Anybody wants a one-on-one, you're more than welcome with a different, okay, and yeah, we will, let me tell you what, there's a lot of people that have issues here. We're going to deal with them, whether it's Saha, whether it's CPS or whoever, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.